What's going on, guys? Welcome back to This Week in Tigers Baseball, Episode 4. I did lie a little bit in my last This Week in Tigers Baseball. I did say I was going to make a preview and recap series for both of these upcoming series with the Twins and White Sox, but I said screw it. I know there was only 5 games played this week because they had yet another rainout and it was a short series in Chicago. So this one won't be too long, but I said screw it. I'm just going to wrap it up all in one nice little thing. So let's begin. The first game that we played was last Friday, and my goodness, this game absolutely pissed me off. You're leading 10-1. They absolutely shit-rocked Kevin Correa. I mean, he went 2 1/3 while giving up 7 earned runs. The Tigers got their scoring off early. Nick Castellanos, who, by the way, has his swing, man, has been pretty inconsistent to me this year. There's a couple games where he's going to opposite field gap with doubles, down the opposite field line with doubles, and then there's some times where his swing gets really big and he's trying to shank home runs into the left field stands every single time, and it's kind of bugging me a little bit because when he takes that nice short stroke, he's peppering the ball over the field, he's hitting the gaps. But when he takes these big hacks, he's trying to pull the ball too much, and his swing gets too big, and he misses too much. I wish Castellanos would swing a bit more consistently. It is. This home run he hit was an opposite field home run at target field, which isn't something easy to do. Which shows you he's got good power, and when he's trying to swing how he likes to swing, instead of trying to pull the ball and try to do too much, he's a very good hitter. He's a young guy yet, so I'm not giving him crap. I'm just pointing out my observations. So Castellanos got another home run, make it 2-0. The Twins in the bottom of the second answered back with a run, and that would be their only scoring they'd have for a little while. The Tiger V-Mart would single at Torrey Hunter, and then Nick Castellanos yet again would single and Victor Martinez make it 4-1. This is all in the third inning, by the way. This is when the Tigers absolutely shit-wrecked Correa. Romine walked. Austin Jackson scored because the bases were loaded. And then Rajah Davis singled in Nick Castellanos. And then Ian Kinsler reached on an infield single and ended up scoring Romine and Davis because he advanced to third on a throwing error, and they were just throwing the balls all the way around the infield. This was a joke by this point. And Miguel Cabrera yet again singled in Torrey Hunter to make it 10-1. So good start, right? You score 7 runs in the third inning. You're thinking, man, this is gonna be an easy day. You're not gonna have to worry about burning up the bullpen. Hopefully Ricky P can go out there and throw some innings. Well, you think that, but Ricky P goes out there, and in the 5th inning it gets or in the 6th inning it gets real shaky. Brian Dozier homers off Porcello, makes it 10-2. And Chris Calabello singles in Joe Mauer, makes it 10-3. And Jason Kubel doubled in Plouffe and made it 10-4. And Kurt Suzuki hits a sacrifice fly to score Chris Calabello, which makes it 10-5. You were given a 9-run lead, and you could only go 5 innings. It's pathetic. So then they end up making it 10-6 because Trevor Plouffe doubled in Joe Mauer. So the bullpen comes out, and Kroll pitches a scoreless inning. Justin Miller pitches, who didn't last up here very long. Justin Miller, he got lit up a couple of times, but he had some pretty okay innings with us. I think he went like three innings before he gave up his first earned runs, but he didn't last up here very long. He pitched 2/3 of an inning and didn't allowed a single run. Like I said, Evan Reed came out. Gave up 2 hits and 2/3 of an inning, and then Java Chamberlain came out for the hold and didn't allow any runs. Well, here's what made me mad. The fact that we had a 10-1 lead. 10-1. The rest of this game should be a mop-up guy. We should have had, if everything went right, we should have Justin Miller out there for 2 innings, and then Al Albuquerque out there for an inning, and then give Java Chamberlain the ball, to get this game done and over with. Or even, if you still had a 10-1 lead going into the 9th, you give Phil Coke the ball. You don't want to burn up anyone good. The fact that you had to go to the bullpen to get 3 innings of work because of Rick Porcello. My mistake, 4 innings of work because Rick Porcello couldn't go more than 5 with a 10-1 lead. That is not good. And the fact that Joe Nathan had to be brought into this game to get the final 3 outs when you were up 10-1. I mean, I'm not complaining about a win. That is the worst thing you could do as a baseball fan. A win is a win. But the how they won was absolutely atrocious. You had a 10-1 lead. And Joe Nathan still had views. This should have been a day of rest game, but nope, the bullpen was absolutely spent. And this is after they were spent from the last series, because our starters aren't going that many innings, as of late. Because Sanchez ends up getting hurt, which we'll talk about in this next game. So Sanchez is pitching he goes 2 2/3, and comes out with a finger blister. He hadn't allowed a hit, and he had struck out 2, and he walked 2. Sanchez has been walking a lot of guys this year too. I don't remember him being this uncharacteristically wild last year. He's walked a lot of guys. I don't really know what's up with that. I don't know if it's because of the injury, because of how much time he missed at spring training, but this is like his 4th or 5th start, so this is where we should start seeing Sanchez, because he was pretty good his last start, but before he unraveled a little bit in the 7th. But he went 2 2/3, and then he came out with a finger blister, and the Tigers were up 2-0 after he came out. Well, here's where it comes. Like I said, the Tigers bullpen was a bit spent because they've been used a lot, because the Tigers starters haven't been going the most innings. As of late, we've had some inconsistent starts. Some guys go 8, some guys go 5. And then it doesn't help that Sanchez seems like he's only going 5 innings every single time. So Jose Ortega is called up because they need some arms in the bullpen. So Jose Ortega comes in because they need some innings now, obviously, because Sanchez is gone after 2 2/3. They're up 2-0. And he ends up walking the bases full. He goes 1 1/3 innings. He ends up walking the bases full. Gives up 4 earned runs, and then Phil Coke comes out after that. So the Tigers blew this game in the 5th inning when they walked the bases loaded, ended up giving up 4 runs in that one frame. Now, I'll give the Tigers pitching the bullpen this credit. They gave up 4 runs in that one frame, and they ended up giving up only 1 more after that. After Ortega came out, Phil Coke came out and pitched pretty well, and I can't believe I said that. He did have 2 walks, but he did have 2 strikeouts. He did give up 2 hits, but he went almost 3 innings. He went 2 2/3 innings while only giving up no runs. So that's you can't complain at that. He ate up some innings. He stopped. He pretty much put out the fire temporarily, and then Albuquerque comes out for an inning and a third, and he gives up a run to pretty much seal the deal, make it 5-3, because the Tigers, Vmart had a home run in the 9th inning to make it 3-5. Maybe if it was still 3-4, it would have been a closer game, but obviously it would have been a closer game. But garbage time runs is what I like to call them. I mean, I know you're down what, 3 at that point, but I still call it garbage time runs because there was no chance they were winning this game. But it was a winnable game that Jose Ortega absolutely – I mean, it was a joke. I'm watching it at work because I'm pretty sure this was the Saturday game. And I'm watching it at work. I'm like, my goodness, Ortega is just ball. And I remember reading on Twitter, because I do a lot of scouting before the games too. Look, how's guys' recent trends? If they're coming up from Toledo, how guys' recent trends been? How they've been down there. Check some stats, and you look at Jose Ortega's stats, and this is all I kept hearing on Twitter from some of the prospect guys I follow, is that Jose Ortega has really good stuff. Because I'm well familiar with Jose Ortega. I know his repertoire of pitches, and he pitched pretty okay last year in some spots. He had some flashes of brilliance, but all I kept reading on Twitter is he's done good work this year, but he has had times when he loses his command, he can't find the strike zone to save his life. And he's had a couple flashes of that. Well, he came up this time, and he definitely had that flash because he couldn't find the strike zone if it was 18 feet wide. He was all over the place, and it was brutal to watch. I don't know how he went an inning in the 3rd and got that many outs. I mean, it was brutal. I'm sitting there watching like this is a joke. I was expecting in that 5th inning when he walked the bases loaded, I was expecting them to put up an 8 spot on the Tigers pitching staff. And for the fact that it was only 4 runs in that inning, in an inning and a third, is amazing to me. And the fact that Phil Coke went almost 3 innings without giving up a run, that's amazing to me, because his command was a bit shaky. He got a couple of big strikeouts when he needed to. And, for the most part, they did give up the lead to this game, but, a down a 2 spot, yeah, that's more than keeping in the game for most of the time. Even though when Albuquerque gave up that 3rd run, the 5th run of the game, that's down 3, that's still keeping in the game for the most part. So, his bullpen, man. So then they had an off day, which Justin Verlander wasn't happy about. They've had too many off days in a row, and Brad Ausmus and Verlander have been both verbally expressing themselves about how they hate all these off days they're having. They've had a lot of off days because of all the rainouts they've had. Their scheduled off days have fallen because they had 2 off days in a row due to a postponement. Because they had one at the last day in Minnesota because it was rained out, and then they had another off day in a row because of the game on Monday was, well, it's a travel day off day, scheduled off day. So they had 2 days, and Verlander ended up getting his start. He had a couple extra days rest, which he didn't want, and he feels like it's screwing up his rhythm and tempo, which I can't blame the Tigers for being mad. I mean, it's hard to get into a groove when you're pitching on 6 days rest, pitching on 4 days rest because you're trying to make up time and trying to get back into your rhythm. It's screwing everything up. But this game in Chicago, Game 1. This, in my opinion, was one of the best Tiger wins of the year. Jose Quintana struck out he struck out 6 of the first 7 batters he faced. He was absolutely filthy. And he ended up going 6 innings, giving up 8 hits, 3 earned runs, but he struck out 10. And this was a really, really interesting game. So Adam Eaton gets the game started off by doubling in Marcus Semien in the first inning. And then in the third inning, Gordon Beckham singles, scores Eaton. And then Adam Dunn doubles in Gordon Beckham. The Tigers are down 3 real quick in the third inning. And then Verlander got stingy because after that, he ended up going 7 innings, 6 hits, striking out 4, and he walked 3. And Verlander's been walking a lot of guys again this year too. Over the last couple of years, man, his walk rates have been really high. And he's given up a lot of walks again this year. I don't know what it is, man, with him and his walks. But luckily to this point, too many hasn't come around to bite him yet. He's pitched around him. But, they got those 3 runs in the third, and that was it. So then the Tigers come back, and let me set up how they scored the runs here. V-Mart singled in Ian Kinsler in the 4th, and then in the 6th, Torrey Hunter singled in Miguel Cabrera, and then Austin Jackson singled in Victor Martinez. So now we go to the 9th, right? And this is absolutely awesome. Tigers got Austin Jackson on third because Diane Viciedo he's going back to catch a ball in right field. Well, he kind of takes his eye off the ball and it drops off his glove. Austin Jackson gets to third. Nick Castellanos comes up, and once again, what I say about a swing, inconsistent. He's looking to hit a 2-run shot to put the Tigers up 5-3 because we're tied here in the 9th. What's he do? He strikes out. Brian Holiday comes up. I'm thinking, oh, man, Brian Holiday isn't known for the stick, that is for sure. So what's he do? Gets a strike on him. And then he drops down a bunt. No one was expecting it all. Austin Jackson scores easily. Now, mind you, this is with 2 outs. This is a risky move with the runner on third. You fail at this. It's you're gonna be looked at like, what the hell are you doing having a guy bunt with 2 outs in the 9th, and he's already got a strike on him. So he drops down a bunt, surprises everyone, gets a single. Austin Jackson scores. Joe Nathan comes out, seals it, scoreless 9th. Best win of the year. The fact that Justin Verlander gave up 3 runs in the 3rd inning, shut him down after that, and then they scraped away on a guy. Now, mind you, that the White Sox pitching staff this game had 14 strikeouts, and to battle back while striking out that many times and coming up with little small ball runs like they did, this was an outstanding win. This game right here. Because the way they battled back, how they scored the runs, the riskiness to how they scored the runs, that bunt single by Brian Holiday, and this was a great win, and they stole this win because they really had. When you strike out 14 as a staff, come on, man, the opposing team has no business winning that ball game. So it was a great game. And then we move on to the last game of the week. And this game, not too much to say. Hector Noesi was absolutely terrible. Goes 3 2/3, gives up 4 earned runs. The Tigers pulverized them in the 4th inning. Victor Martinez singled in Torrey Hunter. And then Nick Castellanos sacrifice fly to Miguel Cabrera in. And then Brian Holiday, the man of this series. He was the MVP of the White Sox series. Doubles in Austin Jackson and J.D. Martinez. And J.D. Martinez, man, I wish he'd a couple more reps out there because, he was really hot coming up from AAA. He had like 10 home runs in like 19 games or something like that. And you could see it in his swing that he's still hot. I mean, I remember this one out he had in the Comerica Park where he hit a ball 419 feet. I mean, he was so close to going out. I think they were playing the White Sox last week. And he's had some really good swings. so far, and he's had a couple of doubles. So I think, Rajai Davis, I understand Rajai Davis is getting on base at a good clip. He's still hitting right-handers decently enough to keep him in there every day and left. But I'd still like to see, JD Martinez get a couple more games started a week, because Rajai Davis isn't going to hit right-handers at the clip he's hitting right-handers forever. I mean, it just doesn't happen. You don't hit right-handers that far above your career average for that long forever. You're going to eventually stabilize. So I'd like to see JD in there a couple extra times. I understand Rajai Davis has been stealing a lot of bases, but even don't give Torrey Hunter a break, because it's not like Torrey Hunter's been playing a good right field. He's one of the worst right fielders in baseball. I think his defensive run saved is like a -8. He's absolutely terrible this year out there. And even his arm's not as good as it was last year. I don't get it, man. Torrey Hunter's looked absolutely abysmal out there. So I'd like to see JD get a couple, maybe an extra start a week. I understand he's a 25th guy, 24th guy kind of dude, but I like what I've seen in his swing so far, and I think if he gets a couple extra ABs, some good might happen out of him. And then this is when I stopped watching the game, because this is when we kind of got busy at work because I was watching the game. So I don't really know what happened after this, but the scoring summary is Victor Martinez was walked with the bases loaded, and then Tyler Flowers singled in Diane Viciedo in the 9th, but no harm, no foul. I guess Evan Reed had a bad 9th inning, but no harm, no foul. It was 5-1. He closed out the ball game. Whatnot, and the Tigers sweep the mini-series from the Chicago White Sox. So great start on the road. Still talking about the same issues, bullpen inconsistencies. Starters not going that many innings, the bullpen having to eat up a lot of innings. This has been kind of a double-edged sword. The bullpen hasn't been good, but our starters haven't been going a boatload of innings either. They've been having to be worked a lot. So when you have a weakness like the Tigers clearly do, their bullpen, and your starters aren't eating up as many innings to hide that flaw as bad, and they're getting exposed more, I'm honestly surprised by the scores of some of these games when the bullpen has had to be used as much as it has. You've had to throw out weaker arms out there. Kroll. Kroll's pretty good against left-handers. I can't say he's a weaker arm. He's only a weaker arm when you use him against righties. But Phil Koch, Al Albuquerque, you got to throw these guys out there on a more consistent basis, because your starters are going 5 or 6. It surprised me that they've only been losing these games by how many runs they have. I'd expect them to be blown out a lot more when the bullpen has had to be used a lot more. So it's a great start on the road. I mean, you take 3? You take 2 in Minnesota, and then you take both games in Chicago. So they're off to a great start on the road trip. I mean, this is exactly what you wanted them to do. This is exactly what I was hoping for them to do. But we move on to they took 1 in Minnesota because that first game was rained out. My mistake. But, I mean, they've taken 3 of 4 so far in the start on the road trip, so that's exactly what you want them to do. And if they can take 2 or 3 from KC in this upcoming series, they start tonight at 8:10. Ricky P goes up against James Shields. Then Drew Smiley goes up against Bruce Chen. And then Justin Verlander goes up against Jason Vargas. And Chen and Vargas scare the crap out of me, because Bruce Chen absolutely destroys the Tigers. I don't know what it is. Soft tossing lefties like Chen and Vargas absolutely eat up the Tigers, and they have a hard time scoring runs off him. So I'm not actually scared about facing James Shields, because the Tigers have roughed up Shields a couple times since he's been in KC, even though he shut us down a couple times too. But Chen and Vargas scare me. I think this is a series that Chen and Vargas can take both games, even with Smiley and Verlander out on the bump. Just those soft tossing lefties, man, I don't know what it is. They absolutely eat up the Tigers. And then Scherzer will come home to open up a 4-game set with Houston. Scherzer against Kozar. And then Robbie Ray makes his Major League debut. And I wanted to touch on Robbie Ray here for a second. Robbie Ray has done very good work in AAA. He was the centerpiece in that Doug Fister trade, which I still hate, by the way. And people quit thinking. These Tiger fans, I'm listening to these morons talk about how they think Robbie Ray is going to come up, get bumped in the rotation, and then they're going to jump Drew Smiley back into the bullpen. That is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. First off, if any left-handers go into the bullpen, it's Robbie Ray. And that's not going to happen either, because the Tigers want this guy to get consistent starts, because they want him to be a starter. They want him down back in Toledo, starting every 5th day, getting consistent innings. And in the Tigers, he's not going to do that. First off, if he does get bumped into the bullpen, he's not going to be a guy that gets seen a lot of work, because when Drew Smiley got bumped in the bullpen, he was a mop-up guy originally. And it took him quite a few outings before Leland put him in more pressure situations. And then they saw, hey, look, this guy can get big outs at big times. He's a big arm of the pen that we need to start using more often because he's been effective. Smiley Ray would be a mop-up guy, and mop-up guys don't see that many innings a week, and that would probably affect his growth and his development as a pitcher, and they probably wouldn't want to do that. It would take a while before he's used as maybe like Smiley was as an eighth-inning arm. So it doesn't make sense to put him back in the bullpen, and it doesn't make sense to put a rookie who's never started in the big leagues over a guy that's been up here for 2 years and has been a starter for about 25 starts already. So it doesn't make sense to put Ray in the rotation and then Smiley in the bullpen. And it doesn't make sense to put Ray in the bullpen and not use him as often as the Tigers probably want for his development. And leaving Smiley as it is. Quit thinking just because Robbie Ray's making his debut, he's a spot starter. It's all it is right now. They want him to keep developing in AAA. Sanchez is hurt. And this is exactly what they need Ray for a couple of starts, a patch over guy, until Sanchez comes back, and I guarantee you he'll be back down in Toledo. So, Ray's going up against Oberholzer, and then Ricky P is going up against, to be announced, I guess, and then Drew Smiley goes up against Kitchell. And then to end the week, we start another series with Minnesota, and I'll preview that next week in This Week of Tigers Baseball 5. So that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, good start on the road, taking 3 of 4. Bullpen woes still a little bit. Starters need to start going a little bit more innings. I want to see Castellanos have a bit more consistent of a swing. Stop taking such big hacks every time at the plate. Maybe see J.D. Martinez play a little bit more. I'm not saying everyday starter, but I'm saying maybe an extra start a week. Give him a couple more ABs, see what he's capable of. Torrey Hunter's been really bad with the glove. That's what I've noticed. Austin Jackson's looked great. Victor Martinez has only struck out 3 times in 90 at bats. That's really, really good. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Hopefully Brian Holland continues to hit like he has, because Alex Avila has not looked good at all this year. Joe Nathan's really righted the ship. So stuff's starting to come around, and team's looking pretty good so far, 14-9 to this point in the season. So I'm pretty content. I wish the bullpen was a bit better than it is. I hope Ray pitches well. I need these starters to go a couple more innings and 5 innings every time. So that's all I got for you guys today. Have a good one. Go Tigers.